Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Good morning. What's up? What's up? Yeah, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Monday, October the 20th, start of a brand new week. A lot of things to kind of go over coming into this week. We have a bunch of earnings as well. Like Tesla, we have Netflix coming into this week. Just based off of last week's price action, do expect continued volatility here in the overall markets. Let's get into the weekly outlook. Before we do that, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Good morning, B Roots. Thanks, Jack. Great text about your father's trade. Glad you enjoyed that video. What's up, Willie, Victor, Jeff, 50. Good morning, Wayne, Andreas, Jorge. Good morning, Monty, Joseph, Nash, Felipe, Sel, Juan, Martin, Norwin. Good morning, Captain. I am Cinna, James, Vate, Hugo, Majid, Daniel, True. What's up, everyone? Todd, Miss Reggie, Carl. Does anyone use copy? Yeah, if anyone's, by the way, I shouldn't have to say this, but I guess I'll say this every once in a while. But if someone's asking you for copy trading or someone's asking you to deposit in a broker, right, that is not me. That's 100% a scam. I don't have any copy trading services. I'm never going to ask you for money. I'm not going to ask you to deposit money into a unregulated broker. I'm not affiliated with any brokers of any sorts, but if you are going to choose a broker, make sure it's regulated. If it's unregulated, if it's asking for crypto deposits, if it seems sketchy, it's most likely sketchy. So in that case, right, I don't have any copy trader services. In that case, I think it's over, right? You're definitely talking to a scammer. That's not me. Okay. Let's go right into it. Was it in the Discord? Yeah. If you're in the, by the way, if you're also in the Discord as well, do not, we will not message you first, right? Tony, I, or anyone from the team is never going to message you or directly DM you regarding a copy trader service or to deposit money, right? It's going to be a scammer. The only way we communicate with you guys is if you guys open up a help ticket, or if you DM us first, potentially we might respond, but even that causes issues just because there's so many scammers out there. All right. Let's get into the weekly outlook for this week. First things first, let's talk about the key economic events that we do have coming into this week. So, really, not too much. As you can see here, Monday through Wednesday, we don't have any red folder news. Thursday, existing home sales, that is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Friday, we actually do have core CPI. So it actually got moved to Friday. This is going to be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll keep you guys updated just because it can change, but for now, it is going to be on Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we also do have flash services at 9:45. And then we have the revised consumer sentiment, which is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So as you can see here, at least for the economic calendar, not as much red folder news. We'll see if CPI does stick to Friday. But let's go into the earnings calendar. There's a decent amount of things to kind of talk about. Earnings season is coming around the corner here as well. So we'll start to have a lot more earnings on the Mag 7 and the rest of the tech names. So at least for the earnings this week, notable earnings, Netflix, that is Tuesday after close, right? You have Coca-Cola, other names here as well. Make sure you take a screenshot of this, or you can search us up on Twitter. You can search up Earnings Whisperer and it'll give you kind of this earnings calendar, or you could just search it up on Twitter. So you can search this up on Twitter and you'll be able to find names that do report earnings. So we have Netflix, that's going to be the main one, Tuesday after close. And of course, on Wednesday, we have Tesla. So this is a really big one here. We're keeping that in mind. That is Wednesday after close. And then on Thursday, we have a few other ones like Intel, right? Ford. We have a bunch of other ones. So keep this in mind moving forward because we do have earnings season coming up. But Netflix and Tesla are the main ones to keep a watch coming to this week specifically. Okay. With that being said, let's go on to the charts that we have today. First things first, let's talk about the ES. So right now you can see that the markets are ranging in between the news candle high and low from Friday on October the 10th. I talked about this last week, but there's no clear direction here on the higher time frames. As for the lower time frames, you have no bias, and we're gonna have to, and we can expect rejections at key levels and bounces on key levels of support as well. So let's first talk about the overall major indices here. Starting off on the ES. So as you can see, if we're looking at this from an hourly time frame perspective, really last week's price action, we're kind of just ranging in between last week's Tuesday's lows along with our last week's highs, which was our this was our Wednesday's highs of last week. So coming into today and moving forward, what we're going to keep an eye out on is really the reaction that we have at least today is going to be the reaction that we have off your Tuesday's highs, potentially your Wednesday's lows, and also the top of the range, which is going to be this 6760 here on the higher time frames. As you can see, there's not really a clear direction. We're kind of right in the middle of the range. So we're just going to be keeping an eye out on the reaction that we have off these key levels. So if we go into the lower time frames, at least coming to market open, the level that I'm going to have marked out today, at least right off the bat, is going to be your Tuesday's highs. So Tuesday's highs, this also coincides with their previous day highs here as well. So coming to market open, if you can maintain above your Tuesday's highs of last week, potentially we can see a push up in towards. Now it's going to be your key pivot levels. In this case, it's your Thursday's highs of last week and also your high of last week, which is going to be your 6760. So this is going to be the key level coming to market open. Really, this Tuesday's highs. If we do break underneath your Tuesday's highs coming to market open, potential rejection off your Tuesday's highs, and we could see a move back down in towards, now it's going to be the 6670. So this is really going to be the key level for me. Tuesday's high is 6710 here on the higher time frames. I really only have two scenarios I'm somewhat interested in coming into market open. So keep this in mind if you are trading the ES along with the SPY. If you look at the SPY chart, it's fairly similar. This one actually looks a lot more cleaner, but key levels we're going to have marked out. Tuesday's highs of last week, which is going to be this 665 level here on the SPY chart. Exact same thesis. If you can maintain above your previous day highs, along with your Tuesday's highs of last week, we can see a potential push up in towards your Wednesday's highs, 670. If ultimately we break underneath this key level coming to market open and we stay heavy, potential move back down in towards your 660 here. Let me actually just grab some water before I keep going. What's up, everyone? Yeah, good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. All right, so this is the two theses that I have played out for the SPY along with the ES coming into market open. So keep an eye out on your Tuesday's high, 666 here. That's going to be the key level for today. There's always other possible scenarios as well. If, right, let's say the SPY drove up all the way up and towards your Wednesday's highs, a potential kind of rejection off this level is in play. Or if price came all the way back down and towards that Monday's lows, right, you could be looking for the long off of your essentially previous day lows, 660 here on the higher time frames. But at least coming to market open, this is the key level that we're going to have marked out. All right, let's go on to the NQ now. Fairly similar thesis here. So you can see that the NQ's buyers are stepping in off the 24,200 key level. Now we're just ranging in between the Tuesday's lows and the Wednesday's highs. What I like to see coming to next week is the reaction that we have off those levels. So as you can see here for the NQ, similar thesis here. Let's just start off here on the daily time frame. So you can see higher time frames. We actually came back down, retested a higher time frame point of interest. Now you can see the buyers are stepping in. Friday, buyers stepped in here as well. This one actually looks good for a potential push, really back up and towards our all-time highs here for the NQ. If I go back onto the hourly chart now, the key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be this 25,120. So this is the higher time frame point of interest. You can see we have multiple touches last week. We have another touch in the pre-market here as well. So based off the hourly chart, if we can get above your last week's highs and hold above your last week's highs, we can see a potential move back up and towards your news candle high, which in this case is going to be your all-time highs. So for the NQ, if we go back onto the 15-minute time frame, we really have two scenarios coming to market open. It's either going to be the break above your Wednesday's highs for continuation towards the upside, or now if price actually rejects off this level, we can be looking for the potential higher low off of our Tuesday's highs of last week. In this case, it is our 24,960 for this potential move back towards the upside. So these are the two long scenarios that we can be looking for coming into today. As you can see, we have a couple touches here in the pre-market. Sorry, this was the after hours, and then you have a couple touches from its previous day as well. So these are the two scenarios we should keep an eye out on. Your 25,100 along with your 24,930 here. So if you can maintain above these levels, or where I potentially pull back down and towards your Tuesday's highs of last week, we can be looking for some longs towards the upside. As for some potential kind of short theses, if we break underneath or hold underneath your Wednesday's highs of last week, we very much well could reject off this area and continue right back down and towards your Tuesday's highs of last week. Or if we break underneath your Tuesday's highs, we could be looking for the short underneath your 24,960. So if we go into the lower time frames, as I mentioned, very much well could reject off this area. Or if price had a really weak price action right off the bat, you can be looking for the short underneath your 24,960. So this is what we have for the NQ coming into today. As for the QQQ, fairly similar thesis here. If you go into the hourly chart, you can see this one's a little bit more bullish than the ES, but higher lows are being built. We're closer to the top of the range here. So if we can get above our 606, coming into this week, potentially we can see a move back up and towards our all-time high. So as you can see here, if we go back onto that 15-minute time frame, we have two scenarios played out here for the QQQ coming into today. Either the break above your 606 right off the bat for continuation higher. Another possible scenario actually is if we pull back down in towards our previous day close, we can be looking for the reclaim back above our 606 for continuation. Or if price came all the way back down and towards that 603, then we could be looking for the higher low off this level for this pushback towards the upside. So these are the three scenarios that we have for the QQQ coming into today. You can take a look at this, you can take a look at the key levels. I'm going to remove them. Okay. As for the downside, similar kind of thesis. It's going to be based off the exact key levels as well. Potential rejection off your 607. I personally don't like this as much. I'd much rather wait for weaker price action, preferably underneath your 603. If we're going to be looking for a short towards the downside, very closer to the top of the range, so I'll be a little bit more cautious on scenario number one. But I do like shorts a little bit better underneath that 603 here. So keep that in mind for the ES and NQ. Now let's go on to some of the tech names that we have coming into today. So first, let's start off on Tesla. Before we do that, I am going to grab some water. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can drop them in the chat now as well. Yeah, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. As for the drawing tool, Leo, it's called Zoom It. It's called Zoom It on Microsoft, or sorry, on Windows. And if you're on Mac, it's called Demo Pro. What's up, everyone? Yeah, if anyone's asking you that, make sure to just delete. You can block those messages. There's a lot of scammers you'll see on Discord. If you ever join the community, they'll flood you with messages. There's a bunch of scammers, and they're getting really good at it as well. So basically, what they'll do is they'll impersonate us. They'll make Discord accounts that are very similar. They'll message you guys like, "Oh, block the scammers," even though they are the scammers. Or like, there's actually, I'm pretty sure I've gotten sent new ones now where they'll use AI. So they use like AI voices, and they don't really sound like us, but they're actually getting a lot better. So they sent like an AI voice of Tony once, and it was actually shockingly, I think it's going to get better and better. So with more AI, with everything, it's only going to get harder and harder. And especially Discord, they don't do anything about it, which is unfortunate. All right, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Before we get into the charts, if you guys do have any tickers, you guys can drop in the chat. Also, if you guys are enjoying this so far, let's drop a like on the stream. Let's get it up to 200 likes. And of course, if you guys haven't joined the watch list, that of course is in the description below as well. I noticed that you watch the Qs with tech names instead of NQ. They're the exact same thing. NQ and the QQQ are the exact same thing. They're both the Nasdaq. They're just different assets, but they all track the same thing. All right, let's go on to trading. Let's go on to Tesla now. One of my favorite charts coming into this week. What I like to see is a reaction that I have off 440 here on the higher time frames. If we can break above that level and hold, we have a shot back towards all-time highs. We also do have earnings, so that's something to keep in mind. So Tesla is actually my favorite chart coming into this week here. Potential invalidation of this head and shoulders. So if you look at this based off of the daily chart, you can see Tesla is just basing. So we had this nice big push towards the upside, right? Kind of this flat top, nice push higher. Haven't quite hit your all-time highs as of yet, but now we're basing here, right? Creating higher lows. Really, the next level for me is going to be your all-time highs here on Tesla. Either it's going to move right with earnings for a push towards all-time highs, or potentially going to have a pre-anticipatory run towards the upside pre-earnings. Either way, I really like Tesla just based off of the hourly chart after this long period of consolidation. So what I have here on Tesla is really this long period of consolidation, as I mentioned, and now we have this potential kind of head and shoulders here in play. So this head and shoulders, and invalidation of the head and shoulders, is one of the strongest patterns in a bull market. So in this case, we have a head and shoulders, right? This is your top of this is your key level here, which is your 440. You can see essentially this is the right shoulder. But if you can break above your right shoulder and invalidate this head and shoulders, I have a really strong feeling that we can have this nice push towards upside pre-earnings here as well on Tesla coming into today. So just based off the higher time frames, just based off the news catalyst that we have coming up, you can see that now Tesla, we're also breaking back above this news candle high from 2 weeks ago. Now, if you can maintain above your 440, I might have to zoom out here on the hourly chart. We can see a nice push towards the upside. So keep an eye out on your previous day highs coming into today, along with this news candle high here as well. We're actually now finally breaking outside of this range. So if you can maintain above your 443, this is your 440 essentially, we can see a nice push towards the upside. So Tesla coming into this morning is going to be my main watches coming into today. What I would like to see and what I do have marked out is basically your previous day key pivot level. I might adjust this just a little bit coming to market open, but this is basically my key level. Friday's highs of 2 weeks ago, I'd just like to see now this turn into support for this continued push back towards the upside. So for Tesla, main watch today, hold of your previous day highs and your last week's highs here as well. Really maintain above this 440 for this continued push higher. So Tesla is going to be the main watch. Invalidation of the head and shoulders, break outside this range. Potentially we can see now kind of this bigger move back up and towards your 450, 452, and then above your 452 really is your 460 and all the way back up and towards your 480. So keep an eye out on Tesla coming into today here and coming into this week. Pre-earnings Wednesday is earnings Wednesday after close. So let's see if we can break up beforehand, potentially capture a nice entry for continuation higher. Let's go on to the next chart that we have, which is Nvidia. Let's go back onto this. Let's go on to this Nvidia chart. Thesis for this coming week. Right now, you can see that Nvidia pulled back here after last week's price action. What I'd like to see here coming to next week is a reaction that we have off the 184 previous all-time highs level. That will be the key level moving forward. We will need to see a reclaim back above that level for any sort of pushback towards the highs. So for Nvidia, key levels that we have marked out is going to be this 184. As I mentioned, this is your previous all-time highs pivot point, right? If I zoom out here or go into the 1 hour chart, this is basically your key level of resistance. We broke above it, held above that level. Sorry, let me grab some water. Throat is a little bit sore still, but it should be fine now. As for Nvidia, the key level that we have is just going to be your previous day highs, 184 here on the higher time frames. As you can see, a little bit of reaction coming to market open. in the pre-market here as well. So for Nvidia, if we do want to see upside, right, we have a couple scenarios: break above your previous day highs, hold for this continued push towards the upside. Another possible scenario, if it came all the way back down in towards your previous day lows, you could be looking for the bounce off your 180 for this continued push back towards the highs here as well. So two scenarios. I personally like to see the break above your previous day highs if you want to see any sort of pushback towards the upside. As for some downside, right, you still technically Nvidia is one of the weaker tickers. So if we do reject off of your previous day highs, you can see a potential move back down in towards your previous day low. So keep an eye out on your previous day highs. 184, which is going to be key here on Nvidia coming into today. There has been a couple news catalysts on Nvidia, which has been making it a little bit difficult to trade the past couple of weeks. And that's primarily the reason why Nvidia is staying heavy after also the rejection that we have off of your all-time highs. But the semiconductors are still holding up. A lot of semis are moving back nicely towards the upside as well. All right, let's go on to Apple. Apple retest here on the higher time frames, 240 last week. Now you can see that we're pushing back up nicely. The key level coming to next week will be the 253 level for a reclaim back up and towards our all-time high. So Apple, one of the tickers I really like here, it's actually showing a lot of strength in the pre-market as well. So this is one of my favorite setups on Apple. We do have room up and towards our all-time highs, fairly similar to what I did back here with earnings. You can see a nice pop. Once you're able to reclaim back above key levels, we end up having a nice explosive move towards the upside. Fairly similar kind of pattern here. We came back, retested key levels. We're actually reclaiming back above, but currently, as you can see, on Friday, nice reclaim back above key levels. And now we can see we're having a nice push in the pre-market. So for Apple coming into today, the key levels that I have marked out is going to be your previous all-time highs. Let's have this marked out, which is your 259. And we're also going to now have marked out your 253. So coming to today here on Apple, this is one of my favorite looking charts for a push up in towards our all-time highs, 259. Other key levels I'm going to have marked out here now as well is just going to be your last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, your high, which is the news candle high when we had that news that dropped the overall markets. But for Apple now, I have two scenarios played out. One scenario is going to be the break above your 256 for this continued push. Sorry, just got to clear my throat here. We should be good now. But for Apple, 256 break for a potential push up and towards your 259. Another scenario that we have here as well is a potential pullback all the way back down in towards our Friday's highs, which in this case is your previous day highs, for this continued push towards the upside here as well. So either scenario, in my opinion, Apple looks really good. If we zoom out, right, higher time frames, retest. Now we have clear objectives being your all-time highs, which is your 259. As long as you can maintain this higher low, 253, I expect this to now push up and towards our all-time highs and above. So Apple, one of my main watches, along with Tesla coming into today. If you go zoom in on the 15-minute, right, similar thesis, right? Key level, keep an eye on your 256, break above, hold for continuation higher. Another possible scenario, kind of this dip down in towards your first dip, and you're going to be looking for the reclaim, or if price, as I mentioned, came all the way back down in towards your previous day highs, 253, you could be looking for this continued pushback towards upside. So this is what we have for Apple coming into today. One of my favorite watches as well here with Tesla. Now let's go on to AMD. Right now, you can see that AMD had a nice push towards your all-time highs last week. One of the only names pushing higher as the market's consolidated. What I like to see now coming to next week is a reaction that we have off your 240 all-time high. So for AMD, fairly similar pattern to Tesla, but just on the lower time frames, you can see invalidation of this head and shoulders. Really nice push up and towards your all-time high. So this is one of the trades we captured last week towards the upside. Nice push up and towards your all-time highs. Now, currently, we're kind of building up this flat top. You can see higher lows are being built, clear level of resistance here at your 240. If you can break above 240, we can have a bigger push towards upside. So this is what we have here on AMD coming into market open, right? Key levels I'm going to have marked out, as I mentioned, we have your all-time highs. And now we're also going to have this 234. So two scenarios: break above your all-time highs, hold for this continued push towards upside. Another possible scenario here as well is the dip down in towards your Friday's highs, reclaim, push back towards upside here as well. So two scenarios played out on AMD coming into market open, right? It's going to be really the break above your all-time highs, 240, higher time frame key pivot point, or as I mentioned, you could be looking for the higher low 234. So for AMD, one of my main watches coming into today here as well. Just going to set some alerts on this one. Alrighty. As for the rest of the tickers, Meta, right now you can see that Meta is consolidating here on the higher time frames. What I like to see now is the reaction that we have off the low being your 690. Not really too much to talk about here on Meta and Amazon, but basically just consolidating here. Higher time frame looks good. As you can see, we're just bouncing off key levels of support, being that earnings low. So I'd just like to see kind of this buyer step in and push this back towards the upside. If we're looking at Amazon here as well, similar thesis, right at a key level, which is your earnings low. We do have earnings coming up here as well, but I would like to see kind of the reaction off of your earnings low for a pushback towards the upside. And then for other tickers, Google looks really good. I actually didn't mark up this chart, but Google, a break above your all-time highs is going to be key here now. So Google was another watch that we had last week for a push towards your all-time highs. You can see nice push up in towards your 256. A little bit of reaction here. If we go into the daily chart, this one looks fairly bullish, right? You can see higher lows are being built. We have a clear level of resistance being your all-time highs. Now, if we can break above your all-time highs, we can see this nice continuation higher. It's going to be above your 256. We can see that next leg towards the upside here on Google based off the daily chart. So that's what we have coming into today. As I mentioned, at least on the Mag 7, some of our top watches coming to today. Tesla above our last week's highs, one of my favorite watches. Apple looks good here as well for a push towards your all-time highs, and even AMD. Now it's going to be the break above your all-time highs, 240 here on the higher time frames. Okay, so now if you guys do have any charts or any tickers you'd like me to go over, you guys can drop them in the chat. I'll go over them for the next probably 10 to 15 minutes, and then I will get ready for market open. Yeah, if you guys do have any charts or any tickers now, you guys can drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate it if you guys drop a like. And of course, if you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, that one is in the description below here as well. Yeah, I'm curious to see how many likes we can get. Usually I never ask for likes, but usually that's like a part of the live streaming thing. But let's see. Let's like up the stream. Okay. Now let's go on to see a couple people typing. Let me type in gold. Let me go over gold first, since I see a few people typing in gold. XUA USD. All right, let's go into this gold chart here on the higher time frames. Where's the one I usually go over? It's, I forget where it went, but the one I usually go over, I think it's Owanda. Yeah, it's Owanda. There it is. So yeah, coming into today here for gold, at least based off the daily chart, I haven't marked out gold in a while, but gold you can see in a very clear uptrend here. So as long as you can maintain above your down close candles, right, we can expect this one to continue higher. So as you can see for gold, every single down close candle is being respected. A lot of people are trying to time the top, which is very difficult in my opinion. I would not try and time the top because, right, if you're trying to time the top in a bull market, there's very good chances you're going to go higher. So in this case, the key levels I have marked out last week was actually this down close candle here. This was from the 14th, and we actually came back down and retested it recently, and you can see buyers stepping in still, and now we're trying to reclaim back above a key level. So coming into today, key levels now that we have is your 4280. If you can break above reclaim, we can see a push back a bit towards your all-time highs. If we ultimately reject off this area, we're still bullish because we are making higher lows, but we're going to be less bullish, and then we're going to be waiting for the reclaim once again back above this key level. So for gold, right, higher lows are being built. Don't try and time the top on this one. A reclaim back above your 4280 will just send this back up and towards your all-time highs. So keep that in mind if you are trading gold. I wouldn't. Maybe people trade this on the lower time frames. I just like look at this one on the higher time frames, in my opinion. But key levels, as I mentioned, 4280s is going to be key for a potential reclaim. All right, let's go over a couple tickers here. So for Oracle, this one had news on Thursday of last week regarding OpenAI. Pushed this towards the upside, but ultimately kind of dropped lower. So Oracle, don't like this one as much now. It's just kind of consolidating here on the daily time frame. So I'd be a little bit more cautious on Oracle. Key levels that we do have marked out still is going to be this 290. So 290 here on the higher time frames. If we can maintain above your 290s, potential reclaim for a pushback towards the upside. Ultimately, if Oracle shows a little bit more weakness and holds underneath your previous day lows, potentially we can see a bigger move down in towards your October 7th lows, which is your 276. As for Palantir, this one kind of just consolidating inside of a range still here. You can see how many touches we've had off your 172 and the top of the range, which is your 187. For Palantir, we're eventually going to have this nice push up in towards your all-time highs. But as for now, you can see we're just kind of consolidating right closer to your all-time highs pivot. What I would like to see eventually, as I mentioned, is these higher lows be built and we have that nice push up in towards your all-time highs and above. But for Palantir, until we can break outside of this range, I'll be a little bit more cautious and look for bounces off key levels and rejections off key levels of resistance as well. So this is what we have for Palantir coming to market open. As for intraday price action wise, right, key levels are going to have Monday's highs of last week, and then you could also mark out this key level, which is, this is your Tuesday's highs of last week. Let's just do this. And then we also have your Monday's highs of last week as well. So just keep an eye out on these key levels if you're going to trade this one. I see someone typing in MU. So MU, so a lot of these semis, let's quickly go over the SMH and IWM here, but you can see for the SMH, it is a lot more bullish than the rest of the rest of the indices. You can see SPY and Qs are not close to your all-time highs. We are fairly close, but SMH is right at your all-time high. So as you can see right here, right at this key level where we have multiple touches, if we can break above your all-time highs, this is going to push semis back towards the upside. Higher lows are being built here as well. So that's why a lot of these semis are pushing up nicely here. So for something like MU, we're already back at your all-time high. So for MU, higher lows, right, we end up tapping into our earnings highs. This was last Friday nicely, and then we had this nice continued push back towards the upside. Now for MU, the key levels that we're going to have and what we can have marked out is just going to be our last week's highs, which is going to be this key pivot level 206. So 206 is fairly clear here on MU. If you do want to see a potential retest of 206 for this continued push back up into towards your all-time highs and above. So MU, right, TSM reclaiming back above key levels, which looks solid, right? AVGO kind of consolidating in between this news candle high and low, but this one still looks good as well. As for Intel, another semiconductor that we have, this one's shaping up nicely here as well. So a lot of consolidation. It also does have earnings now on Thursday after close. So for Intel, the key level that we're going to have is going to be this 39 range break towards the upside. If you can break above that, we can see a nice continued push higher. It's going to be above your 39 key psych level. As for intraday, keep an eye out on this 38. If you could break above 38, potential move towards the upside, it very much well could reject 38 and come right back down inside of this range. But as for Intel, we do have earnings this week, so there's a good chance if you can break above key levels. Next level, as I mentioned, is going to be your 39 and above here for this ticker. As for a few other ones, let me go into the chat here now. Someone's mentioning SoFi. SoFi still looks good in my opinion. Consolidation after hitting our all-time highs, which was expected. Now we're just kind of basing above this weekly key pivot point, which as you can see is our 25 key psych. So we already hit your all-time highs main objective. I would just like to kind of see SoFi consolidate above your 25 for the next leg higher, or if SoFi breaks underneath, right, higher lows be built kind of off this 21. We could see, as I mentioned, the base above your 25 or a pullback. Either way, SoFi fairly bullish here on the higher time frames. If we're basing it off of the daily chart here now, key level we just like to see maintain above, which is going to be this 25 key psych level. As for intraday price action, really not too much to talk about. If you draw it from this range high to this range low, just kind of consolidating in between these ranges until we're able to break outside of the range. I would be a little bit more cautious. If we're talking about equilibrium, right, either the break above 27 can push us higher. If we reject off equilibrium, we can see a push back down in towards our range low, which is going to be our 25 key cycle level. So that's what we have for SoFi coming into today. Not too many names that I really like here. Even Hood kind of consolidating here or pulling back based off of the higher time frames. It actually tapped in towards our higher time frame key pivot point, which is our 122 nicely. Now we're reclaiming back above key levels here currently. I'd just like to see now Hood maintain above your previous day lows 132 for a continued push back up and towards the highs. Next levels as well is going to be this 142 previous all-time high. So I do like Hood for a potential kind of now inverse head and shoulders for this continued push higher. It's going to have to hold above our previous day low. Sorry, in this case, it is our low that we created from Friday for this continued push higher. So at least right off the bat, currently, I like actually just primarily Tesla, Apple, and AMD coming into today, at least for some of these growth names. MU, of course, looks strong. It's going to have to pull back if we're interested. A couple other semiconductors look appetizing. Like TSM, AVGO, and a couple other ones as well. Even Intel, you should keep an eye out on that with earnings coming up. Let me go over a couple other names here. Let me scroll up. Let's see, going to be golden. Let's see. Can I ask, how do you buy contracts in the money? If you're buying contracts in the money, it's just choosing the strike price. So your strike price is what's going to matter. Let's say, for example, Apple, you're choosing now the 260 calls expiring this week. That means you're out of the money. If you're choosing 255s, that means you're in the money because right now the underlying is at 256. If you're at 257.50, that means you're going to be one out the money because we're fairly close to it, but it's just basically we're still out of the money. See a few people typing in HIMS. Let's take a look at this one. So kind of rejecting off key pivot points. So HIMS has kind of been inside this range ever since we had earnings of earlier this year. We've been rejecting in fairly similar spots. So rejection once again right off our 64-ish, and now we're right back towards the downside. So as you can see for HIMS, really not too much to talk about here. Key level that we also have is your 52, so higher time frame key pivot point. If we reject off this level, we're going to come right back down in towards our 46. If we can reclaim back above your 52, potentially we can see a move back up in towards your 55-ish. But we're just kind of trading inside of this general range, 59 along with our 51. As I mentioned, reclaim, you can see a push back up in towards your 56, break back underneath. We're going to see a move back down in towards our 46. Okay, let me go over a couple more tickers here as well, and then most likely I'm going to get ready for market open. AMD, I already went over most of these tickers as well. So a lot of people that are typing in tickers, if you look on the right-hand side, I have a watch list here. So I usually go through every single one of these in order primarily, and then I'll go into some of these ones here as well. As for, we'll go into Marvell. So this one's basically nicely. So I really like Marvell here. We had that nice push the past 20 to 40 sessions. Looks fairly bullish. Now we're basing above key levels here as well, which is our 85.20. This is the exact level we like to see hold here on the higher time frames. So as you can see, multiple touches now, previous kind of resistance now turning into support. What we like to see here on Marvell is really the break back above, primarily maintain above your 85 key psych for a pushback towards the upside. So really for Marvell, I'd like to see it maintain above your 85. I just like to see kind of this push higher here now. If we break back underneath, we can see a little bit of momentum kind of slowing down. But as long as you can maintain above, I like to see this continue push back up and towards your 90, really your 90 key psych level and above here. Okay, yeah, let me go over a couple more. I'll go over Shopify and then I'll go over Big Bear AI. So at least for this one, you can see kind of this nice push in the past 20 to 40 sessions. Higher lows are being built as well. We did take a key level of resistance here. So now this one is pulling back. Based off of technicals, the key level of reclaim is going to be your 840 here on the higher time frames. So right, you'd like to see higher lows be built. Right, reclaim, in my opinion, the best one is going to occur above your 840. So until we can break back above your 840, I'll be a little bit more cautious on this one. But as you can see here, this is going to be your key level. Above your 840, we can see a push higher. And then for Shopify, this one's basing ever since we had that earnings gap up. You can see earnings low has been used. Nice push back higher. We can now draw your earnings high here as well. So this can be a level that we can use. As for Shopify, this looks really good. It's actually back at your all-time highs here now as well. So Shopify, key levels that we're going to have drawn out is going to be your 176. This one, in my opinion, looks good for a move back up and towards your all-time highs. Right, key levels that we're going to have marked out primarily your 156. If we can maintain above 156, we can see a push higher. Other key levels break above your previous day highs, we can see a push towards the upside as well. Regardless, higher time frames, higher lows are being built. Shopify, in my opinion, looks really good for a push up and towards your all-time highs. Alrighty. Hood, yeah, I went over Hood already. Okay. Let me go over my game plan coming into today, and then I will get ready for market open. So game plan coming into today, as I mentioned, the key levels that we're going to have is your 606, and we're also going to have your 603. So this is a higher time frame, key pivot point from last week. Game plan, break above your 606, continuation higher, or the potential dip all the way back down and towards your 603 for continuation. This is for upside. I am leaning more towards the upside coming into today. We do have to keep in mind it could very much well reject off this level and continue right back towards the downside. But if you can break back above your 606 hold, I do like this one for a continuation higher. Similar thing to ES here. Key level is going to be this 25,120 for a break above and hold. As for the ES, this one's lagging behind just a little bit, but your Tuesday's highs is going to be marked out. What I like to see now, just maintain above your Tuesday's highs of last week for a push up and towards your 6760. And then for the SPY, similar thesis here. Key level, Tuesday's highs of last week, 666. Currently, you can see some buyers are stepping in here in the pre-market. Next level that we have is your 669. So that's the thesis that I have played out here on the SPY and Qs coming into today. As for my main watches, keep an eye out on Tesla. As I mentioned, higher time frame, potential invalidation of this head and shoulders, range break here as well. We can see a potential bigger move towards the upside today. Going to be my main watch coming to market open. Apple here as well. I do like this one for a push up and towards our all-time highs. Had a news catalyst here in the morning. So key level here on Apple, 256. We can actually just mark out this general area here now as well. So let's mark this out. 256, hold of this level, we can see a push up and towards our all-time highs. And then even AMD, higher lows are being built here. Potential kind of flat top forming. If I was to draw this out, something like this, right? Flat top break, higher lows are being built here on AMD. Right, key level is going to be your 240. Break above that, we can see this nice continued push towards the upside. So these are the three main watches I'm going to keep an eye out on coming into today. You can also keep an eye out on Nvidia for the reclaim back above this 184 previous day highs for a push higher. So these are the three main watches that I do have. Also, the semiconductors continue to look strong. So for for SMH, key level that we're going to have is going to be this 348 for a break above and hold. You can see MUs at all-time highs, TSM shaping up, right? A bunch of these other ones like AVGO, even Intel, and a bunch of the other semis are pushing up higher here as we speak. So keep an eye on the semiconductors. Those ones are going to lead the market back towards upside. Of course, keep an eye out on Tesla. This does have earnings here on Wednesday, but potentially we can see a bigger move now above that 442. Alrighty. Yeah, so that is going to be it for me today. That is my game plan coming into market open. As always, if you guys did enjoy that, appreciate if you guys drop a like. Also, if you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. And that's about it. How do you get the levels automated on your chart? I draw them regularly. So we have also an indicator as well that draws the lines. I like drawing out the areas, but the lines work good, specifically for intraday levels. But I draw them before. I either have them from last week or I usually do it over the weekend, and then I'll kind of readjust it coming to market open. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.